It's time for Rabbi Minkowicz's Weekly Torah Lesson, a place where life's most difficult questions are answered. Here with his spiritual perspective and insight, Rabbi Minkowicz.
Welcome to this week's Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is Parsha's Ve'eschanon. The question of the week is, how can we find comfort in the destruction? So in this week's Torah portion, Parsha's Ve'eschanon, which we read always right after Tisha B'Av, so it's the first Shabbat after the commemoration of the destruction of the temple, there's a special Haftorah, and the Haftorah is called Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, and actually the name of this week, besides it being Parshas Ve'eschanon, is also known as Shabbos Nachamu. Now, if you find something very interesting, if you look into the Haftorah begins and it says Nachamu, Nachamu Ami, where God is comforting the people for the terrible loss. So the Rebbe asks a simple question. It says Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. Why does it say twice, comfort the people? If it's comfort, so say once. And if you want to emphasize, why stop at 2? Say 3, 10. There's a lot of beautiful numbers in the Torah. Why specifically did it say Nachamu, Nachamu twice? So the Rebbe explains this with based on an interesting piece of Talmud, which at the end of the tractate of Makot, there brings down several stories. One of the stories is that the rabbis are walking with Rabbi Akiva, and they are walking on Mount Scopus, Har Tzofim, and they give a look and they see out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that means where the temple stood, the Holy of Holies, they saw a fox coming out. So the rabbis started to cry. Rabbi Akiva was laughing. So they turn to Rabbi Akiva, why are you crying? Why are you laughing? And he turns to him and says, why are you crying? And he says, what do you mean, why are we crying? The temple, it says even if a stranger went into the Holy of Holies, he's put to death. And now from this holiest place, a fox is walking out from there? So he says, and that's exactly why I'm laughing. Why? Because he says there were two prophecies. One prophecy was from Aryeh, where it says that that the holy place of the temple is going to be plowed like you plow a field. But then there's a prophecy later on where it says, prophet Zechariah, it says that we're going to return back to Jerusalem. So he says, up until now, that I did not see the place totally plowed away where a fox coming out of there. I didn't know yet what the second prophecy was going to come. But now that I see the first prophecy took place, now I know for sure that we're going to have a complete redemption. So the question is asked, what happened all of a sudden that they were so happy, they were so sad? The destruction took place a while back. But obviously what happened now is, when they saw it, and more importantly, they heard the insight of Rabbi Akiva, what did they say to him? They said, Rabbi Akiva, nichamtani, nichamtani. They said twice, comforting. So Rabbi asked the same question, why did they comfort him twice? They said, okay, fine, you comforted us. What's the idea of twice comforting us? So Rebbe explains, because there's two types of comforts. One is when someone goes through a challenge, you go, oh my gosh, I feel bad for you. Sorry to hear that. But here, what Akiva told them was that what does it mean, see it, by not mentioning them the idea, but see them, that the field gets plowed. What does that mean? Because if you want to plant something in a field and you want it to grow, what do you have to do? You actually have to rip up the earth. And when you rip up the earth, then you've got to sow the plant, and then you can have a beautiful crop coming out of there. In other words, if you just go ahead and throw seeds in the ground and you don't rip apart the earth, guess what happens? It's not going to grow. But when you rip it apart, that's when you ultimately have growth. So the comfort he gave them was that, guess what? You look at the destruction and the fox coming out as a terrible thing. Perhaps, but the truth is, what's the real comfort? That in that place where it's totally destroyed, that's specifically where the blessing is going to come from. And that's why it says, Nachmu, Nachmu, Ami, twice comforting. One is comforting us for the loss. But the second comfort is that specifically from the destruction, and because of the destruction, we're going to have the greatest blessings possible. So to answer the question, what is the comfort from destruction? To know that the destruction was not for destruction, but the purpose of destruction was to be able to have the rebuilding and even better and stronger than before. As we know, the third temple is going to be much greater and bigger and better than the previous two put together. This week's Torah lesson is in memory of Baruch ben Aryeh Leib and Shlomo Ben Yosef. May their souls be elevated for the Torah that we're studying in their memory. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. For more information on Chabad, please see our website.